What's good, you guys? I hope everybody's having an amazing day, or like honestly, like I guess you could be watching this whenever. So I hope y'all are good. So in this video, I wanted to talk to y'all more about like my PTSD. I think I made a few videos on this months ago now, I think. It's been a minute. I honestly don't talk a lot about my PTSD, and I was kind of wondering like why, because it is like such a big part of my life and continues to like, it has been for the last like 5 years. I think like a lot of the things I do in therapy revolve around it. A lot of my relationship problems like are because of it. A lot of just like things that like my life is like not messed up now, but like a lot of my problems are because of that, and I don't talk about it a lot, and I like say it's my bipolar disorder, and I think that's just because like it is, but it's a lot of things, you know? Y'all get me. You get me if you get me. So more specifically, I want to talk about like how my PTSD looks and sort of what happened to get me to this point. So from a lot of my videos, I talk a lot about familial trauma. Familial, is that a word? Family trauma. And about just like attachment disorder and these different things that happened to me throughout my childhood. And I think that's a big part of it. Again, like I grew up with my aunt and uncle. They sort of like adopted me, so I typically referred to them as like my mom and my stepdad. I still talk to my dad, but I only saw him in the summers and like holidays, so like not all the time. And then I didn't talk to him at all for like 5 years throughout high school because I ghosted him. Again, you'll have to go back in the videos for me to like actually go into like everything that happened, but this is just a quick synopsis. My mom was like in and out of my life, and I just remember like times throughout my childhood she would like show up, and then sometimes she would leave with no warning, and like just be gone for months. Like I would just like not know where my mom was, and that like would suck. And that's like just a lot of reasons for like why I have attachment issues, why I have like certain like relationship problems. A lot of it is where there was a custody battle between like my aunt and like my father fighting for me, and like I was just felt like I was just very much in the middle. Nobody seemed to like each other. Like threats were made, especially like when I was super young, like being 4 and 5, remembering like people saying like I'm gonna kill you, or like they like hate you, or like just putting like all these negative thoughts into me based off of each other, and then like me being bounced around. It was a whole ordeal. So given all of that, I don't actually think that I think that's a source of my PTSD. I don't think that's like what triggered it, because I've always had to like throughout middle school is when I started feeling those effects from like childhood trauma or whatever, working that out in therapy. But a lot of that was just like my attachment disorder and like the way I related to people, and like being depressed. It wasn't kind of how I think of PTSD. And here's the difference. It was in high school that I felt like the PTSD. It was my sophomore year, my mom passed away. So she died of cancer, which sucked, and I miss her like daily. But she passed away sort of abruptly. She had been living with us for a few months. Again, I said my mom was in and out of my life, so this was the first time ever that like I had my mom like at home, like cooking food, being there when I got like home from like school, and I didn't know those were like the last few months like we would have together, and like how perfect they were. And then like she passed away. I thought I was cool. I didn't deal with it. I'm pretty sure everybody was freaked out because like I just went to school, like everything was cool. And like people would ask me about it, and I'd be like, yeah, that happened. Like it was Saturday. Like, what are we doing next Saturday? It was weird as fuck. And then my senior year, my friend Sarah died. This is sad for me to talk about. My friend Sarah died, and she died of cancer as well. She was like a little bit older than me, but we were the same age, and she had become like a really close friend, like one of my best friends, definitely, throughout middle school and like early high school. She like is always gonna be my dear friend, and like I'm just getting emotional. Like she's my sister. We had a lot of issues that we related on together, and like we just became really close. And then she passed away. And so like I'm not saying like it was her fault. I'm just honestly nervous talking about this. Next, so those two deaths, I think, combined with the fact that like I didn't talk to my father throughout high school. I ghosted him because of the whole custody battle. I ended up staying with my aunt. I felt like it was my fault. That sort of attachment phase sort of shut him out. But essentially that happened in 8th grade. So I lost my father in 8th grade, lost my mother sophomore year. I lost my best friend my senior year. And then we were all graduating. Everyone was moving on from their lives. Like I had just made, junior year was the best year ever. I just made lifelong friends who I'm still friends with today. They're still my best friends. So it all worked out. But essentially I just felt like everyone was leaving me. And it was then that like, I felt like this is no longer just like me working through my relationship issues. Like I am panicking. Like I don't know what to do. And it was really Sarah's death that sort of like ignited that. I had obviously been feeling it up to that point, but I was just like, I felt very scared. Like I felt like everyone was leaving me. And it was a hell that I do not wish to go back to today. I remember I was in school, I remember just shutting down completely like a few times in class. Like I would just go like outside myself. You would be talking about something in class and like some word or something would remind me of like someone I had lost, like either like in a relationship in various ways. And there were multiple losses otherwise. Those losses, like those were the big ones I talked about, my mom, my dad, and like my best friend. But then there were other ones. Let's say, for example, if I got into a fight with a friend, great example. I broke up with a girlfriend my junior year, and that hit me like super hard. I was like, she left me, everyone's leaving me. And it was like losses like that became even more, and it just like sent me into a state of spiral. I was in those classes, you know, like just completely outside of myself, just shutting down. And then one day I just like started bawling in the hallway, and I just couldn't get up. It was bad. I was super depressed my senior year, and it was just like, it was the worst type of panic I think I've ever experienced. I ended up going into a partial hospitalization program, and I sort of like learned about like why I was feeling this way. Because keep in mind, I had no idea before any of this that like I could not reflect on like, I thought everyone was leaving me. Like that's what I thought. I did not know that like, oh, lost my dad's relationship, my mom died, my best friend, I'm like losing these relationships. I've had a tough childhood with attachment. I didn't realize all of those were like in my mind still, and that like I was not dealing with them. I had no idea. I just knew that like, you know, people were like abandoning me, and that like, screw life, like I need to abandon them before. It was a whole thing. So now I've sort of moved past that. I don't have like, you know, you can talk to me about like my mom, my like Sarah, and like death. You can talk, like I'm talking about that now without breaking down. It doesn't send me there like anymore. But sometimes it does. And like that sucks. I think last year, especially when I like was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I would just start crying randomly at like things, like just like I could be listening to music and I would just start not just like tearing up. I would not be able to hold myself. Like I have to leave class to go to like the bathroom, like weird stuff like that. And like I didn't understand why. I think that's like a new piece that I'm dealing with. The bad part of it is that like I shut out relationships still to this day. If I feel like someone's leaving me, I get hurt when people cancel plans to the extreme. It's sort of like a trigger for me. And with medication, I've been able to help that and not go to the place where it's like the panic place. I think that without my medication and without my behavioral changes and all that, I would go right back to that sense of panic and despair and either lash out on that person or like take it out on myself and be like, it's time to die. And that's sort of like, I'm scared of people leaving me, like, and it's a real fucking fear. And I like flash back to points in times when like these things have happened before, especially in relationships. Like in relationships, it'll be a time where like things are going on a certain way and I'm like, this looks familiar, or like, are you really thinking this way? Or like, how do I prevent myself from not getting hurt? And there's a lot of different examples, and like I like can't get into a lot of them now just because I feel some type of way. But I hope that kind of explains it. I think for me, it's all like weird because it's all wrapped up together, and that's the best way I know how to explain sort of my PTSD. A lot of it for me is flashing back to certain painful memories and then like seeing them, thinking that they're gonna manifest again now. That sense of panic, and that's why I would have like 6 panic attacks a day sometimes. Stuff like that, it's not fun. But we get through it, because look at me now. All right, y'all, I hope that that helps clarify some things, or maybe it was just interesting. Again, I say these things not to be like, oh, woe is me, like I'm so sad, things suck. Like I feel like I'm like strong, I'm like getting through it. Like I'm good. I do it really just to shed light on like what I think these things look like. They don't look the same in everybody. This is just sort of things that I'm going through, and I hope that like that you can relate to that and know that like things get better, because things really do. Yeah. So like, share, comments. I love to hear from y'all, and remember to subscribe. Peace.